Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Newsbreak. Scores of workers are off the job at Port Vale Sugar Factory. Many of them gathered on the compound this morning in protest about 57 employees being made redundant from the closed Andrews factory effective April 4th. The industrial action is backed by the Barbados Workers Union, with General Secretary Sir Roy Trotman addressing the workers just after 7 o'clock. After that meeting, Sir Roy told the media that today's strike is merely a response to the action taken by the Barbados Agricultural Management Company Limited against Andrews employees. He says the BAMC made those workers redundant before talks were concluded.
That was tantamount to the first strike in a war. That in fact what they had done is that they had taken industrial action, and that we would be responding, we were being forced to respond to that industrial action which they had taken, and that we would have to do that to vindicate the cause of the workers, not merely at Andrews, but to vindicate the cause of workers at Port Vale, the workers in the sugar industry in the workshops, the workers at the sugar terminals, as well as those sugar industry workers who work in the fields and on the farms.
The BAMC, meanwhile, is preparing a statement to respond to the industrial action. All these developments follow lengthy redundancy consultations from June 2013 with the BWU, the BAMC, and the Sugar Industries Staff Association. The Andrews factory has been closed to facilitate the construction of a new state-of-the-art multi-purpose factory that will help to transform the local sugar industry into that of a sugar cane industry. As a result, Port Vale is the only sugar factory in operation for this year's crop. Health officials say there has been a satisfactory response to their efforts to cut down the mosquito population on the island. And according to environmental health specialist Ronald Chapman, this is good news as officials try to ward off an outbreak of chikungunya. The viral infection is transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, the population of which health officials said had reached epidemic proportions last year.
So we had the self-check program going on, which we talk about persons going around the house and checking once per week. We've been seeing some significant results from that. The first quarter statistics are in, and overall, we have an index of approximately 2.6. Now, what does that mean? It means that the percentage of mosquitoes that we are finding per household on average has dropped down to 2.6.
What was it before?
In some cases, we've had up to above 5.
Mr. Chapman says the efforts to get utility companies to pay more attention to their underground junction boxes, which had become a breeding ground for the pest, has also paid off.
The last figures I got from the inspector is that particularly one of the companies were seeing anywhere around 0 to 1%, 1 to 2% of their boxes with mosquitoes now, whereas before we had approximately 19–20%. So that's a significant reduction.
Barbados and the region taking another big step to safeguard against another Clico-style collapse and are responding to major scams emerging in recent times. Yesterday, the Financial Services Commission signed a memorandum of understanding with its counterparts in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, along with the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, for the exchange of information, cooperation and consultation. During the signing at FSC headquarters in Warrens, Chairman Dr. Sir Frank Allen told the media the MOU will help shore up investor confidence in the region's non-banking financial sector. Sir Frank says the commissions have no choice but to collaborate in this fashion with the types of scams and threats which have emerged over the last few years.
Most of you know that major scams have taken place across the world. I need not mention anyone. This is not the time for it. But those scams could only have taken place because of a lack of due diligence. And in our sub-region, we have we have to do our best to ensure that the fallout from these scams will become a thing of the past.
The National Insurance Scheme will soon be able to more readily collect monies owed to it. This follows an amendment to the National Insurance Security Validation Bill. Labour Minister Dr. Esther Bayer-Suku says the legislation empowers the NIS to recover contributions retroactively.
It says in the bill it validates the collection of sums of money purported to have been collected by the Director of National Insurance in accordance with the National Insurance and Social Security Act Cap 47 that were A, due and payable as national insurance contributions for more than 3 years, and B, collected by the Director of National Insurance by means of a writ of summons, an ordinary summons, or a claim form. And so, once we validate this, then it would mean that, and this is a routine thing.
The Barbados Manufacturers Association wants more small and medium enterprises to take part in BMEX, but is aware that they cannot afford to do so. That's why Executive Director Bobby McKay says the BMA has been working with partners to meet some of the staging costs, which amounts to over $500,000.
People think it's easy. We subsidize a lot of SMEs. A lot of micro businesses will never, ever, ever be able to come to BMEX without your support. These are companies who cannot afford to pay $2,000 for a booth. Not in a million years. Yeah, we have to pay over $150,000 just for use of the building. That is not including anything else. So we really appreciate these partners.
The Landship is the subject of a new play written by Winston Farrell. The actor and playwright spoke about the work during a relaunch of the piece at the Errol Barrow Center for Creative Imagination. Mr. Farrell says while theatre in metropolitan countries is often based on buildings, the cultural forms that is, of small islands provide excellent input for theatre. He adds that based on the number and quality of productions in Barbados recently, theatre arts is alive and well.
As the Theatre of Barbados continues to grow, defining itself within the context of the Barbadian landscape, it is important to note, and I dare say, that we need to continue to treasure the emerging young talent pouring out of the community college and the Errol Barrow Center. These programs have contributed significantly to the growth of young aspiring thespians and theatre artists.
Meantime, head of the Landship, Lord High Admiral Vernon Watson, is making a plea to professionals to offer their skills to the organization.
The Landship has tremendous potential to be very useful to the people of Barbados, but we have moved away from it. I am therefore inviting all those people with all those new skills from information technology to economics to return to the Landship. It is not only a matter of parading, but also the serious work of helping to empower and upgrade the poorest people in the community. My wish would be to see a number of you professionals sitting with the members of the Landship to make it once more relevant to Barbados today.
A 38-year-old St. Michael man drowned off Paradise Beach late yesterday evening. Jason Skinner of Belfield Fairfield was reportedly snorkeling around 5 when he got into difficulty and shouted for help. He was brought ashore by 2 men. An ambulance was called and Skinner was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital where he was pronounced dead.